Have you ever felt an unseen presence in your home when you're alone at night? Imagine this. You're nestled in your favorite chair, engrossed in a captivating book. Outside, the world is shrouded in a blanket of darkness, the only light coming from the soft glow of your reading lamp. Everything is peaceful, quiet, tranquil. But then, you hear it. A faint sound that shatters the silence. It's distant at first, barely a whisper, like the soft padding of footsteps. You brush it off, attributing it to the old house settling. But then, it happens again. This time, it's louder, undeniable. The sound of footsteps, echoing through the empty hallways of your home. Curiosity piqued, you rise from your chair, book forgotten. You tiptoe through the house, each room bathed in a ghostly glow from the moonlight filtering in through the windows. The footsteps have ceased, replaced by a new sound. The creaking of doors opening and closing, followed by the soft rustle of objects being moved. Your heart pounds in your chest as you flick on the lights room by room, searching for the source of the sounds. Each room reveals nothing out of the ordinary. No signs of an intruder, no signs of disturbance, just silence and empty spaces. Yet the sounds persist, echoing through the quiet house, a chilling reminder of the unseen presence. You check every nook and cranny, every possible hiding place. But there's nothing, no one. You're alone, or at least you should be. The house is as it has always been, yet it feels different, tainted by the mysterious sounds that seem to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. You return to your chair, the book lying untouched where you left it. But you can't concentrate, can't shake off the feeling of unease. The sounds continue, growing louder, closer, shaking you to your very core until they abruptly stop. The silence returns, more ominous than before. The sounds continued, growing louder and closer until they abruptly stopped. But was it really over? What would you do if you saw a shadow in your window, watching you in the dead of night? In the quiet town of Hollow Creek, a woman named Emma lived alone. One evening, as the last vestiges of daylight faded, she found herself in the unsettling company of a sinister shadow. As she relaxed in her living room, a movement outside her window caught her eye. She looked up to see a shadowy figure standing still, watching her. Fear gripped her heart, making it pound in her chest like a wild drum. Unable to shake off the feeling of dread, Emma dialed the police. Her voice trembled as she described the shadow outside her window. The dispatcher, attempting to soothe her fears, assured her that help was on the way. She waited, every tick of the clock echoing her heartbeat, until the flashing lights of the police car cut through the darkness. Officers scoured the area, their flashlights penetrating the night, searching for the faceless prowler. Despite their thorough search, they found no one. The yard was empty, save for the rustling leaves and the cold, moonlit silence. They advised Emma to lock her doors and windows, assuring her that they would patrol the area for the rest of the night. With a false sense of security, Emma tried to shake off the eerie encounter and prepared for bed. But as she pulled the curtain shut, there it was again, the shadow. It was as if the figure was glued to the spot, an ominous silhouette against the backdrop of the moonlit night. Paralyzed by fear, she could do nothing but watch as the shadow remained motionless. She retreated to her bed, pulling the blanket over her head like a protective shield. Her heart pounded in her chest, the silence of the night amplifying every sound. She lay awake, her eyes wide open, straining to hear any sound that might indicate the presence of the intruder. As she hid under her blanket, the shadow remained, an eerie silhouette against the moonlit window. The terror of the night was far from over. Imagine hearing a voice calling you from your basement, but you live alone. In the dead of night, the eerie silence is broken by a whisper, a voice that seems to be calling from the depths of your home. It was an ordinary Tuesday when our protagonist, a man of rational thinking and skepticism, found himself in this chilling predicament. He was nestled comfortably in his living room, a book in hand, when he heard it. A voice, soft yet insistent, calling his name. It was coming from the basement, a place usually filled with nothing more than forgotten memorabilia and the hum of an old heater. Shaking off the unsettling feeling, he dismissed it as a trick of his mind. a product of the late hour and his solitary state, but the voice persisted, growing louder, more desperate with each call. It was a voice that knew his name, a voice filled with a haunting familiarity that sent shivers down his spine. With each call, the voice seemed to grow more anguished, more pleading. The man, despite his fear, felt drawn to it. He found himself standing at the top of the basement stairs, peering into the inky darkness below. He flicked on the light switch, but the basement remained submerged in shadows. Slowly, he descended the creaky wooden steps, the voice growing louder with each step. He scanned the room, his heart pounding in his chest, but there was nothing. No sign of anyone, no source of the voice that had been calling his name. He called out into the darkness, his voice trembling. Silence. The voice had stopped. He searched the basement thoroughly, turning over boxes and inspecting every corner. Still, he found nothing. Nothing but the echo of his own voice in the cold, empty space. It was then that he realized the truth. The voice wasn't coming from his basement. It was coming from his own mind, a manifestation of his deepest fears and loneliness, a chilling realization that left him standing alone in the darkness, the echo of his own voice, his only company. Despite his fear, he could not ignore the torment in the voice, a voice that knew his name. What if your visitor at midnight had no face? A chilling question, isn't it? Yet that's the reality for one unsuspecting teenager, home alone on an otherwise uneventful night. It was a night like any other. The moon hung high, casting long and eerie shadows throughout the house. The teenager, let's call him Jake, was engrossed in a video game, his only company the occasional ping of a new message on his phone. Then, out of nowhere, a knock echoed through the silent house. Startled, Jake paused his game and listened. The sound was unmistakable. Someone, or something, was at the door. Gathering his courage, he decided to answer it. As he swung the door open, there stood a figure. But it wasn't a pizza delivery guy or a lost neighbor. In the dim porch light, he could make out a silhouette, tall and slender. But it wasn't the figure's height or build that sent a chill down his spine. It was the face, or rather, the lack of one. Where a face should have been, there was nothing. No eyes, no nose, no mouth, only a blank, smooth expanse. The figure stood there, silent and motionless. Jake blinked, overcome by a sense of dread that clawed at his chest. And then, in an instant, the figure was gone. Jake was left standing at the doorway, staring at the empty space where the faceless figure once stood. He rubbed his eyes, questioning if his mind was playing tricks on him. But the echo of the knock and the lingering chill in the air were all too real. He was left alone in the house again, the silence now deafening. The video game's paused screen flickered in the dark room, the only sign of life in an otherwise ghostly, quiet house. So what would you do if you were visited by a faceless entity in the dead of night? Jake's encounter serves as a chilling reminder that the unknown can knock on your door at any time. He was left standing at the doorway, staring at the empty space where the faceless figure once stood. A terrifying encounter, an enduring mystery, and a haunting question to ponder. What can we learn from these terrifying encounters? Our journey through the shadowy corners of the night has not been for the faint of heart. But it is not without its lessons, not without its purpose. These stories, as chilling as they may be, are reminders of an important truth. A truth that lies in trusting our instincts and keeping our wits about us when fear comes knocking. In the hush of solitude, our senses become our greatest allies. The softest whisper, the faintest shadow, the slightest chill, they all carry messages, warnings that something is not quite right. Trust these signs, for they are the language of your instincts. They are your inner compass, guiding you away from danger and into safety. But trusting our instincts is only half the battle. The other half is staying calm in the face of fear. Fear has a way of twisting reality, of turning shadows into monsters and whispers into screams. But remember, fear is just a feeling, and feelings can be controlled. When fear grips you, take a deep breath, steady your shaking hands, and remind yourself that you are stronger than your fear. And then there's the matter of safety precautions. It's easy to dismiss them as unnecessary or tedious, but they are our first line of defense against the unseen terrors of the night. Double-check your locks before you retire for the night. Be wary of answering doors to strangers, no matter how innocent they may seem. These simple actions can mean the difference between a night of terror and a night of peace. So, as we leave the shadows behind and step back into the light, let's carry these lessons with us. Let's remember to trust our instincts, to stay calm in the face of fear, and to take safety precautions seriously. Remember, while these stories may chill your spine, they also remind us to be vigilant and alert when we find ourselves alone at night.